Corey Lewandowski and Donald Trump's campaign caught a freighter-sized break today when prosecutors in Florida announced that they will drop formal battery charges after Lewandowski allegedly grabbed Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields last month. Here's Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg explaining his decision at a press conference this afternoon.
While the evidence in this case is legally sufficient for the police to have charged Mr. Lewandowski, it is not strong enough to meet the legal burden of a reasonable likelihood of a conviction. It is not uncommon for a candidate's inner circle staff members known to the agents to assist in clearing a safe pathway. It should be noted, however, that one agent was positioned directly behind Ms. Fields and appeared to show no concern over her actions. Mr. Lewandowski could have called this agent's attention to her movements before taking action himself if he considered her a threat. In addition, soon after the incident, Mr. Lewandowski publicly denied ever touching Ms. Fields in any way. Although these factors might undermine Mr. Lewandowski's potential defense, they do not outweigh the reasonable hypothesis of innocence based on the real-time facts and circumstances recorded on the video.
Prosecutors released another video of the incident. It has a wider shot of the room that shows Ms. Fields ignoring Trump's protective bubble of the Secret Service while the rest of the press was being directed to another room of the area, which prosecutors said they factored into their decision. So, Mark, Corey Lewandowski is scheduled to be on Hannity tonight. My question for you is, does this announcement put Trump's Lewandowski drama firmly and finally behind him?
First thing I want to say about this is people in the press have a tendency to forget that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. The minute the charges were brought, everyone just assumed he was going to be charged, tried, convicted, and people have to remember, innocent until proven guilty. In this case, I think it caused a swirl of controversy at a time when Trump was going through a rough patch. I don't think at this point that even though there'll be some fallout from the way the charges were dropped, which we'll discuss, I don't think this will have any impact on the chances Trump has of being elected.
I think, I agree with your first point. And, look, we on this program made the point that innocent until proven guilty on the day it happened. We also pointed out that it was unprecedented. We'd never seen anything like it before to even have a charge raised like this against a campaign manager or presidential candidate. I think at that moment in the Wisconsin primary where things were going south for Donald Trump, first starting with the way that he was treating Heidi Cruz and then followed by his abortion comments, this was part of a series of things that caused Trump to falter in a significant way in Wisconsin. And it was part of the atmosphere in which the anti-Trump movement was able to find traction there. I do think that if Trump ultimately is not the nominee, Wisconsin will have proven to be a very important contest in that narrative, and that this will be part of that turning point, even though Corey Lewandowski now is not going to be charged formally with battery.
The other thing is there's some, obviously questions about Lewandowski's role in the campaign now that Paul Manafort is part of the senior team. And at the time, the confluence of changes in how the campaign was structured, with Lewandowski being charged, led to people to say that this was going to cause him to diminish dramatically in influence. He is still by Donald Trump's side. He still travels with the candidate. He still is an influential player in the campaign. And the fact that he's now no longer going to face these charges means that he can go back to focusing. And I think Trump standing by him and Lewandowski's public praise of Trump and gratitude, I think brings what was already a pretty close relationship even closer.
Yeah, yes, no question about it. And let's be clear, if the opposite thing, Trump has stood by Lewandowski throughout this whole thing. But let's be clear, if formal charges were filed and the prosecution had gone forward, I think it would have ultimately become very difficult for Lewandowski to stay in a significant role, if any role, with the campaign going forward if you're being prosecuted and having to stand trial for this. So the alternative would have been a huge thing for Corey Lewandowski and for the campaign. As it is, I think that there's a, I think there's a good lesson, I think, for campaign managers going forward, which is try to err on the side of not touching reporters at all under any circumstance.
Being charged. Palm Beach County prosecutors said that Lewandowski's attorney and Donald Trump himself spoke to them and offered their sides of the story. But they said that political pressure had no bearing on their final determination. Still, this case has led to a lot of not so flattering headlines for Team Trump, as we said. John, when all the dust is settled, how much damage will this do to Trump Will it have any lasting effect? And was his contact with prosecutors perfectly okay?
I think that Trump making the case for his campaign manager and for his friend Corey Lewandowski, I think that's an appropriate thing. I think that's not political pressure, at least in my judgment. I mean, I think the idea that there's an employer coming forward and giving your side of the story in that way, I think it does not cross a line, at least as far as what I know about it at this moment. That's all. I'll answer that question. We can get on to the larger questions in a second.
Yeah. Look, I think that it's not uncommon for prosecutors to decide not to go forward even after somebody's charged. Right. I think if Trump called and said, here's some facts you might want, that's one thing. But it seems like he did more than that. He talked about what a good guy Corey was. I think probably Trump won't pay a price for this because by Trumpian standards,
it's relatively minor.
Relatively minor. But I do think that you can imagine a scenario where if Hillary Clinton had called a prosecutor about Huma and said, really, I think Huma's a pretty nice person, you can imagine Republicans saying that was improper influence.
Right. On the broader thing, which again, I talked about the atmospheric. I think there is a broader, again, Corey Lewandowski is now, the prosecutors decided not to proceed. So he is formally innocent now, not just presumed innocent. But I do think that for Republicans who are worried about Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, that incidents of this kind that raise unusual, unprecedented kinds of drama and melodrama, it has reinforced, though they were already predisposed not to want Trump to be their nominee. But the whole thing just created a kind of miasma. And it's part of this broader picture that makes people in the Republican Party, the ones who are queasy, makes them more queasy. That these are the kinds of things that are likely to arise if Trump is the nominee, and people just want to stay away from this kind of mess.
One reason people liked and found attractive to Donald Trump in that town hall he did the other night with his family
seemed normal.
And also no drama.
Right.
No drama.
Right.
No drama Obama. You'll never have anybody say no drama Trump, but less drama. And I think if he continued to have less drama, a lot of Republicans at least will be reassured.